Your hands.
Thank you. So it's 7 p.m. in India time, and that's the slated time that we had planned to start. And here we are. Thanks, Raj, for the cue. So good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our November IAF Global webinar featuring our wonderful friend from London, Martin Farrell. You would have read the impressive bio of Martin, and if you're expecting a super formal person, you can't find. You will find a warm, gentle, humble facilitator who indeed is invisible even when he's on stage. I mean, that's the beauty of this gentleman, Martin Farrell. And we met first time in Bangalore conference in 2016, I think. Martin? Yeah, I think so.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then later at the London coffee shop when he was kind enough to make some time for me along with Martin Gilbert. So not much from my side because you all have read everything. I'm not going to stand between you and Martin. Recording it will be done, and Raj has already started it. You will find it in the IAF member page if you're an IAF member. If you're not, please welcome to join us. If you don't want to be appearing in the video, please be a guardian of yourself and go off the video. And those who of us are chivalrous, no issues whatsoever, we want to be seen. So at the tech wheel is the forever reliable Raj. So welcome once again for a happy session on youth theory. Over to you, Martin. Normally at this point in time, you wouldn't be hearing us properly because it's a Diwali time, a festival of crackers. But however, now it's pandemic, so we are not bursting crackers. So we can all hear each other. So let's hear our voices. Okay, over to you, Martin. Thank you very much for the facilitator.
Thank you. Thank you, Nasi, and thank you, Raj. It's a real pleasure to be here. It would be even more of a pleasure actually to be with you and to join in your celebrations, but this is not possible this year, maybe next year or in some future time. So thank you, Raj, for taking care of the tech. Thank you, Nasi, for your kind invitation. Let me start with just running you through what we're going to be doing for the next hour and a half. We're going to be arriving, which is what we're doing now. We're just settling in. We're going to leave behind everything else that we've been doing during the day. And arriving here in this special time that we have together. I do invite you to stay right until the end if you possibly can, because I've designed this to be a flow, really. Also at the end, I will be giving this book to somebody. So if you're not there at the end, it's not going to be you. If you are there at the end, it might be you. I'll tell you more about that later. So we arrive, and then I'm going to we do a little warm up, and then I'm going to take you to a moment. I tell you my personal story, because with this, what I'm going to be saying is faithful to the U theory and to what Adam Sharma and his colleagues have developed, but I've sort of channeled it through my own experience. So this is a personal presentation, as well as one that is faithful to what the theory says. So I'll take you to that moment 4 years ago in a moment. There may well be people on this call who know about U theory. If there are, please be prepared to speak. Please be prepared to contribute. And I'll be asking you for that at this point here. And I'm going to give you some input about presencing and absencing. That's what this means here. And I will be asking you to give some one breath feedback, just your comments in just one breath. As much as you can say in one breath. We'll just play with that a little bit to see if that actually works. Well, it will work, but let's see how we get on with that. Then I give you some more input about the blind spots. And then I'm going to be asking you if you hear a whisper. Is there something about your highest future possibility that you are beginning to hear? And we'll go into small groups. Raj will help us with that. That'll be about halfway through. We'll have some feedback from that, and then we get to the 4 levels of listening. And then I will ask you some reflective questions, some questions which will help you be thinking about what may be your highest future possibility. So this is about highest future possibility for you, and also then the groups, it will be also for the groups that you work with. So that's the menu for the next hour and a half, and I do appreciate your having joined this webinar. So as we start, let's think of the world. There's the world. You are somewhere right now. Your feet are touching the ground somewhere in the world. When I count 3, 1, 2, 3, I want you to shout out. You can turn on the mic, unmute yourself if you want, or stay muted, and just shout out the name of that place. Is that okay? If you're in a situation, a public place where you can't shout, don't embarrass yourself or anywhere else. You can just mime it. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Kingston.
India.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. We've got that. I heard all of those. I've made a quick note of them. Now, think of somewhere else in the world, anywhere else in the world, a place name. Could be a country, it might be a village, it might be a town, it might be a city. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to shout that out as well. So just get something in mind. And 1, 2, 3.
Jamaica.
Why am I inviting you to do this? It's a bit crazy, isn't it? Why am I inviting you to do this? I'm inviting you to do this because this tells us something about what youth theory is about. That it connects the reality, your feet on the ground, where you are now, with something that's deep inside you, some connection. You thought of that place because of something in you. You thought of it has some meaning for you. I give you an example. When I was thinking this morning, oh, what would I say then? And I thought of a place in England, actually. And I thought, oh, I wouldn't want to say that. And then I thought of Kingston, Jamaica. Oh, Kingston, Jamaica, that's a cool place. That's kind of rock and roll, fine place. It told me something about myself that I didn't want the rather boring place beginning with a K in England. So it's global, think youth theory, think global. And also think about the connections that you make in your insides, in your inner perspective when you look to yourself. Maybe just be reflecting on that right now. Let me take you to a moment. It was a moment 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago. We'd suffered a family bereavement in our broader family. It was politically a difficult time as well. Brexit had just been approved. And I was feeling pretty low, actually. And it was at this point that someone showed me a book about youth theory, and then I went to a meeting, and there were things about it that impressed me, and I just want to tell you 1 or 2 of those. And then if there is anyone in this webinar who has some experience, I'll be asking you in a moment what it means to you. The first thing that I was struck by was this. I'll let you read it for yourself. The success of an intervention depends on the inner condition of the intervener. What does this mean? This means if I'm doing something, it's not just what I do, it's the person I am. It's about what I bring to it, my presence. And I thought that's really interesting because I've spent my life doing various change things as a change agent of various sorts. And I've always been doing things. Some of those have worked, some of those have not worked. But this connected to another part of my searching in my life, which has been about a spiritual journey and connecting my inside and my outside. So I thought, that's good. It connects my inside to my outside. So I was rather taken with that. Something else that I started hearing was this: an awareness-based collective action. I've underlined action. ABC, action. So this is about doing stuff, but it's not just doing any old stuff. It's doing stuff that connects with you as a person, as a whole person, as a person with a heart, a head, and a hand, which is the symbol for doing things, going out there and doing things. Awareness-based collective action. This impressed me because I thought I can move from my spirit, from the source, from my inner world, into something outside. So then I started finding out about the Presencing Institute. And I'm rather taken with what they say, which is that we believe it's possible to create results from our work and our being in the world that are good for the well-being of all. They're good for everybody. And what we see, ladies and gentlemen, as we look around, is people doing things that more or less nobody wants. We create an environment, a physical environment, with the climate change and so on, which no one wakes up and wants that to happen. We create social divides that no one wants. We create tension in ourselves that we don't want. So we believe it's possible to create results that serve the well-being of all. I thought, well, that sounds good to me. I'm interested in that. If I could ask you to do something now, which is, I'm going to ask you all to turn your cameras off in just a moment. In fact, if you would do that, first of all, would you just turn your cameras off? If your cameras are off already, you don't have anything to do. So turn your cameras off. And when I say so, when I say 1, 2, 3, please turn them on again if you know nothing about U theory at all. You've come to this without knowing anything about U theory. The camera button, as you know, is on the bottom left. If you know nothing about U theory, please turn your cameras back on again right now. Let's see how many people, just looking on my screen here, know nothing about it. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you're in the right place. You'll be finding something out over this next little while. If I could ask you now to turn your cameras off again. Everybody's cameras are on. Please turn your cameras on then if you think that you've had quite a substantial engagement with this. You've read the book, you've maybe been on one of the courses, you've had something to do with U theory. So you feel you've got something to say about it, you've had some experience of it. I don't know, Raj and Nasi, what your calculation is. It looks about 50-50 to me. Does that look about right to you? If I could ask those who have now just put your cameras on again, just to say what this does mean to you. Is there anything in U theory that particularly attracted you when you read the book, went on the course, or anything else? I could ask you to contribute. If you want to speak, I think just unmute yourself and start speaking. If we have 2 people at the same time, we'll work that out when it happens.
Martin, this
Yes.
is Kalindi here.
Kalindi, you're most welcome. Yeah. Lovely to see you. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I really liked was the principle from ego to eco.
Ego to eco. Thank you. Tell us, just give us a little bit of, a few sentences on that.
Yes. So the sense that it made to me was, instead of operating from limited self, can I contribute to the world at large?
Wonderful.
So from limitedness to unlimited contribution, that is what I sensed. And I really liked that.
And that's
because
what...
the very purpose of your life then is different.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And it's very neat, isn't it? Because it's just 3 words, 3 letters and 3 letters. Ego, me, to eco with a C for everything that connects us together. Thank you. Thank you, Kalindi. Is there somebody else who would like
Martin
to speak? Yes, please speak.
Martin, this is Murli here from Mumbai. Thanks so much. I've started to read this book since September.
Okay.
I'm reading it for the 2nd time consecutively. One thing which impacted my life from this book, the story Facing the Fire. That's the first part.
Yes.
Fire, that was really impacted my life. Actually, after reading it, I read it second, and I could connect with one incident of my life, and I could really bring out myself. That's one thing. And now I've started to read block by block of this book. And fortunately, your session came up. I felt it's important, I keep my mind and ears and everything open and then participate here. Thanks, Martin.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, and what I think you're referring to is the fire that Otto Scharmer experienced in his family home when he was a young man. Yeah. And then he was told by his father, after their whole house, their family house had burnt down and was destroyed. Father said to him, look to the future. Look to the future.
Correct.
And yeah, so this is something that is a very central part of this, leading from the emerging future. So you try to get a sense of what is the future here. You only have a little sense of it, but what is that future that could take you to something new? And he had that very powerful experience as a young man when basically his farmhouse burnt down.
I could create a future from there, actually.
You say again, please?
I could create a future from there after reading that story.
Yes, there we are. Thank you. Is there one more? Thank you. Yeah, so it's about the future and looking to the future. Not being, we acknowledge the past, we understand the past, we may need to go back to the past to understand some of our personal struggles, but we look to the future. That's what we can do something about. Is there one more person who would like to contribute something? There will be more chances later. Somebody else want to speak? So what this is for me is that U theory, it's kind of a funny term, because as soon as when I looked at it and it said theory, I thought, oh, I'm not interested in theory, I want to do stuff. So I don't find the theory term helpful, but what I do find helpful is the U, and I'm going to introduce that to you in a moment, because the U is very significant in the whole thinking around this, and I'll describe that right now. Because for me, the whole thinking in the book and all the work that they do at the Presencing Institute is, in a way, it's a way of understanding. It's a way of seeing the world. And it's a guide that helps me on my way. And it's also a spiritual practice. It also puts me in touch with a global community of people who are similarly minded. And it's also a support for the action that I want to take, which is to find what is my highest future possibility. So it's all of those things. The Presencing Institute, it's in the USA, it's part of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. It's an institute there, and they run lots of courses. Many of them are free. You can just check in, go and look at the website, and you can just participate for free. There are some paid ones, but you can do loads of things for free. It's a thing called ULab, ULab 1, ULab 2. I've just been recently on the thing called the Gaia Journey. There's Just Money, about different ways of doing finance, transforming society. There's a lot of different courses there. I do suggest that you go and take a look, because I think you would find it inspiring and helpful. Because I'm hoping that you go away from this session, when we've finished in an hour and a quarter from now, that you go away hungry, that you will have just got a flavor, and that you will want to find out more. So you'll know enough to want to find out more. Is there anybody else who would like to say anything? Anybody else who is particularly struck by this before I move on? If so, please speak now. Anybody want to say anything? And then I'm going to tell you about presencing and absencing. Okay, let's go into that. So we're now, where are we? I'm going to move, right, yes. We're now on this bit here. And then we'll come to that. Presencing, the term presence, presencing is a made up word from presence, being present in oneself, and sensing. So as you're present in the moment, you sense what could be going on in the room at the moment. As a facilitator, you're sensing what's going on in the room at the moment, because you're being present, with connecting with yourself and connecting with something deeper than yourself. So let me just walk you through this, starting on this side and going round to here. Take a few moments to do this, and then I'm going to be asking for your reflections, if you have any things that struck you or that you noticed. So on the presencing side, first of all, let's just see what is there. Suspend our habits, our habitual way of seeing. Because we know that when we look at something through a filter. It's a tree or a house, as I'm looking out now out of my window here, but it will come through the filter of our own perception. So let's see if we remove that filter and just really see what is there and notice what is really in front of us, not what we imagine is there. As we've done that, let's sense what is happening then for us, sort of redirect our attention so that it both holds that external object and it also connects to the source. It connects to what's inside us. So we see outside and we also sense what it's doing for us. What do we feel when we see the group, the tree, the friends, the political situation? Connect also inside. Connect, if you like, to the source. As you did indeed when I asked you to shout out where you were and where else you had thought of. Something happened inside. You thought of that place not by chance, but because of some connection within you. And then find a moment of stillness, to be present and to be still and to begin to let go of what has been there before. Let go of those things which no longer are needed. They've had their time. They've played their time. They've played their part in your life, but they're no longer needed. And to start thinking about what might be coming, what you could let come, what you could allow to come. So you let go of what is no longer needed, which needs to die, and start to discover those things which you could let come, those things, the new shoots. But at this point, it's very unclear because they're only little shoots. They might not even be above the ground. So what you would then do in this model is to start crystallizing. You've just got these little ideas, little whispers. A little bird speaks in your ear, a little idea. Then you start crystallizing it. You try to begin to make sense of it. And then you move to action. And the action is prototyping. You still don't really know what you're doing, but you can prototype. You can, in dialogue with the universe, and as was it Kalindi, I think, said, that you move from the ego, just your own perspective, into the eco. So you're seeing the bigger picture and you're prototyping what is coming up in you and you're taking action. But it's an action which is awareness-based and it's collective. It's with other people who are taking their own action in whatever area is important for them. And then you get to the point of performing and really making that new direction, that new highest possibility really happening. So this is how you, the way it is presented as heart, hand, and head. The hand is the image for doing something. We do things with our hands. We manufacture things with our hands. We make things happen with our hands. But it's informed by our heart, by our inner reflection. And also it is moderated by the wisdom of our head. So we're using our intelligence. We're not earthworms. We're not birds flying in the sky. We have intelligence and we can use that together with our desire for action and our heart. Now we have a choice here because we can do all of that. And this is all a choice. We can do it or not. We may choose absencing. And absencing is where we're basically downloading things. We're just told things and we accept it. It's the same old, same old. It's just like a container and water pours in. And we may find ourselves denying the truth of things. We only see one truth. This is how life is. This is how it's organized. This is how other people are. That's how it is. So we deny. And a classic example of that is denying climate change, which vast numbers of scientists believe is actually happening. People deny it. Desensing. We start losing the feeling for what is happening, the suffering that is happening. We don't care about that. We don't feel it. And we blame people. We blame others. There's us and them. There's us on this side and them on that side. And ultimately what that comes to is destruction. And we see all around us destruction. Nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to destroy things today. Most people, vast majority of people don't do that. But the result of absencing is that we destroy. I'll say a bit more about that in just a moment. So we have if you're on the, if I got this the right way around, yeah. If we're on the absencing side, we have a closed mind. I'm right, they're wrong. We have a closed heart. We don't feel. We don't feel their joy, their suffering. And indeed, we don't feel our own joy and suffering. And a closed will. We're just going to do it this way. We've always done it this way. This is what we're going to do. If we choose the path of presencing, then we have an open mind, an open heart, and an open will. I'm going to pause there and ask you, well, I think let's have just a moment's silence, perhaps. And then I'm going to ask anybody on this call just to, on this webinar, just to say, what do you sense? What do you feel? What's going on for you when I say these things? So let's just pause a moment. And I'd be glad to hear if you would like to, if anybody would like to contribute. Again, just put up your hand or just speak. Take the floor.
Hi, this is Denny. Can you hear me?
Denny, are you going to speak?
Hi.
I see you on my screen.
Can you?
I'm not sure I hear you yet. Do I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I don't think I hear you yet.
Somebody says I can hear you, Denny.
Yeah, we see you. If I'd learned lip reading, I would be able to hear you now. But I didn't learn lip reading.
Okay.
Something else.
We are hearing him, Martin.
Is there something we can do? So you want to hear what Denny
we
says?
can hear him, Martin. You have
Or
to check your headset.
Is it my end?
Yes. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me, Martin?
Let's have another go. We'll have one more go, and then we'll come to somebody else, and we'll come back to you, Denny, if we may.
Okay.
Is that okay? Or even maybe you could put it in the chat, and we'll read it from the chat. I don't know what's going on there. Raj, please tell me if you can hear, but I don't think you can.
The audience can hear me.
Oh, you can hear both Denny and Martin, so it's a problem with me.
I think so.
Okay, I'm taking my headphone out. Okay, now I'm.
All right.
What happened there? Something funny has happened. I think I could.
Can you hear me now, Martin?
Yeah, I take this headphone out. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. Yeah, so I'd like to introduce myself, Denny. So I don't know how I got into this webinar for sure, but I'm glad I did. And just when you introduce those concepts, it just dawned on me right now because there's just so many things that are happening. And the lady before mentioned about the ego and eco. I think that's very relevant. And and it's interesting how you inverted that. The other model, I forgot. I didn't take notes. I was just listening. But there is that wave, not just from the invert, the detachment of things and presence. And I think that is so prevalent of how we can actually detach ourselves to present situations. Yes. Yeah, that one. What did you call that? Absencing?
Absencing. So being from your everything, from your feeling, from your denying the truth of things and so on. Yeah.
Right. I noticed that a lot of myself in the past, probably not much of that, but I'm noticing as well of how some of the world, of how people can actually go through that. And I don't blame them for blaming other people, right? And then desensing certain things of this world. I'm kind of out of sequence when I talk about it, but the denying aspect of it, and then going to desensing and then blaming, and then going to that, is that destiny at the end?
Destroy.
Oh, destroying. And that is what I'm afraid of. That is like the scenario where you don't want to be. Yes, destroy. And I could see, I don't want to name any individuals, but I can see this person right now who is going through this issue.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to be partisan or get into the aspect of politics, but I can see this happening because of this absenteeism model.
Yes. And in
Thank
that
you.
thing, yeah, it's important, as you say, not to get into pointing the finger, because if you point the finger, then you're playing this presencing and absencing game. I got it the right way up? Sorry, the wrong way up. Saying we're right because we know about presencing, and they're all wrong because they're doing absencing. The fundamental truth of this, and one of the elements of U theory, is that we see the whole system. Now, as facilitators, we know that we try to do that. We try to see the whole system. But this is central to this. There are people who are absencing and who are doing all of these things of denying and so on, which ends up in destroying. But it would be a mistake for us also to falling into blame or blaming.
Right. Yes.
So in the USA, I guess the news has reached us, everybody on the planet, that there is a danger of that being absolutely split down the middle. But there may be people who are wise enough and big enough to say, we have all created this. We have all created something that's damaging to us.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. It's there.
Thank you. Can I take a picture of that again?
Yes, you can take a picture. And also, I'm going to be sending all of these. The recording will, of course, carry this. It's being recorded now. But also, I'll send these also as a PowerPoint. I'll take
Thank you so much.
and send them, so you'll have that. And you might be the lucky person. Might be the lucky person who gets the book at the end. We'll see.
I hope so. I hope so.
I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Yeah.
All right.
Is there somebody else who would like to contribute? And then I'm going to do a little bit more.
So, hi, Martin. This is Paritosh from India.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And I think this is serendipity that I'm here.
Good.
And presencing, I think, calls you. And the two words that stood out for me while we were at the third stage, when you talked about presencing, you said, what needs to die?
What needs to die?
And that's the cycle of nature, and that is something which is very, very real for me. And for something new to be born, for the spring to come, autumn is necessary. So that's one thing which really, really came very close to my heart. And the second thing is, and I hope for that we'll all hear some silent whispers, because that would be a road to crystallizing.
Exactly.
And those.
Please say more. Please say more. Yeah.
Because these whispers exist, but because of that absencing cycle of denying, of blaming, of not seeing our own truths, we don't hear them. So it's not the game that you play against others. This is a game that I play with myself, of denying, of desensing, of blaming. And when I get out of that cycle, and just like I haven't read the book, but a line which comes to me is from compulsiveness to consciousness. Because absence is compulsiveness, and presencing to me is being conscious. Thank you so much for sharing it so beautifully. I really, really have loads of gratitude to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. As I say, this is a personal journey for me over 4 years. So it's been very helpful to me, and I'm very happy that it's helpful to you. Is there one more person who would like to speak, or shall I say a few words about the divides? The blind spot here. Any other thoughts that anybody would like to share? Now's your moment.
Martin, hi.
Yes, please.
You hear me? Yeah.
Andrew, yes, I do. Now that I've taken my microphone out, I can hear you.
That's great. Well, I'm completely new to U theory, so but what you were saying just before struck me a lot, because I think so. This theory is a lot on one hand on a personal basis, But I think it's so important to have also a detached point of view, to see things from above, to see things. What you are saying at not pointing fingers is so true, because we're all in this, no? So I could on one hand be on the lower part going up, or I could be on the upper part going low. So it's important that I start off with this sense of not me and them, us and, but with this ability to look from above.
Yes.
Things. I don't know if I managed to express myself in what I'm trying to say.
You
But
have.
it was so nice to hear this thing. Yeah.
You have very well expressed yourself. I completely understand what you mean about seeing from above. And what comes to mind as you say that, for which thank you, is a helpful image that I just heard the other day. Probably all of you already have this image. But if you point, which way shall I point? Maybe I'll point this way. I'm pointing to things in my office. Yeah, I'm pointing. What do I do with my other fingers? Those fingers are pointing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's worth remembering.
Yeah.
When you're pointing to somebody else, just think of yourself, and think of yourself 3 times more than you're thinking of them. So that speaks to the
Right.
us and them dynamic, I think. And it's an easy reminder when we take our fingers with us and point to ourselves and look to ourselves to see what part we are playing in this drama, this global drama that we're part of, the drama that we're part of in our families, the drama that we're part of in the groups that we facilitate. What is our presence in that? What is our presence bringing to that dialogue in that group? How do we help them find their highest future possibility? So let me say a little bit more about that, and then I'm going to, it'll be nearly coming up to halfway through, amazingly, and then I'm going to ask you to go into groups to pursue some of these thoughts in small groups. So this blind spot, what blind spot? Let's think about blind spots. What are we not seeing? The theory says there are 3. An ecological blind spot, a social blind spot, and a spiritual blind spot. And these are like icebergs. Imagine these are icebergs. As we know, the majority of icebergs is under the water. You don't see them. But as the people on the Titanic discovered, they do exist. And you can hit them and bad things can happen. So if you're blind to what is underneath, bad things happen. I'm just going to read a few words from the book, which say it more eloquently than I can. It speaks about these blind spots. So the ecological divide, the first of these, the ecological divide, can be summed up by a single number. That number is 1.5. And the 1.5 is that the economy consumes resources of 1.5 planets. If we carry on doing that, it's not sustainable because it does not repeat itself. It doesn't regenerate itself. We are 1.5 times the we use 1.5 times the regeneration capacity of planet Earth. And that's just the average. And there are some places that are producing and using so much more. For example, the US, probably other countries as well. Secondly, the social divide. What is the social divide? The social divide could be summed up by another number. And that number is 8. And what that means is that 8 billionaires own as much as half of mankind combined. That's right. So 8 people, just 8 people, you get them in a minibus, own as much as the people at the bottom of the heap, the bottom half, so-called, of 3.8 billion people. Can that be true? I believe it is true. I don't think they put it in here if it wasn't true. The third one, the spiritual divide. The spiritual divide. This is the difference between myself now and myself in the future. It could be, you could say, my self with a lowercase s and my highest future possibility with a capital S. Those things which I am here to do, the things that I'm called to do, those things which are mine to do, the capital S, self, the thing that things that I am called to do. So the spiritual divide can be summed up by the number 800,000. 800,000. More than 800,000 people per year commit suicide. They end their lives, a number that is greater than the sum of people who are killed by war, murder, and natural disasters combined. Every 40 seconds, globally, someone commits suicide. We can understand that by people who have not been able to find their calling, not been able to find what it is that they are here to do. Now, clearly, all the economic situations come into that, social situations, but people who have got so desperate that their life is so futile and so pointless that they finish it. I find those quite chilling numbers, and whether you accept the numbers or not, we know that those divides are there. We know that the ecological divide is there, causing damage to our environment. We know that the social divide is there, of the enormous disparities. And I've visited India, I've seen many of those disparities, and that's you see every day. And also then the spiritual divide, which perhaps is less obvious, less out there, but it's still a very powerful force for, well, division and misery in our lives. Before we go to smaller groups, I want to show you a couple more things. This one, and this is taken straight out of the book. One of the lovely things about the Presencing Institute is they use a lot of graphics, and I find them very helpful. They're very simple, they're powerfully generated. In fact, it's called generative scribing. So people are not just drawing pictures, but finding what is said from their heart and soul, and then seeking to communicate that in a graphic form. So what you see here is two peaks, a starting point and a finishing point. The desire, what we want to do, isn't it? We just want to get there. We just want to go from one peak to the other. Let's just jump over. You can't do that. And if you try to do that in a group, if you try a change process in a group that somehow just forces people through, it doesn't stick. It's almost as if this little chap here tries to jump across and has got a piece of elastic tied to his backside, boing, and he bounces back again. So you go through a change process, and we all see many consultants doing this. It doesn't work because they didn't go through the U process. They didn't touch what was needed, what they needed to touch. They didn't see, they didn't sense. They weren't still for a moment. They didn't crystallize, they didn't prototype, and they didn't get to the other side. So this image, I find a pretty powerful image. We must do that work. We must do that work with ourselves and our group if we want to get to that other side, to find our highest future possibility. When you do that, it's not all glory and easy. You meet demons on the way. I meet demons on the way. I've been thinking in the last days about my demons. I've now given them names. I won't go into that. That will take us the rest of the evening. But 4, I've named my demons, because as you become quiet, you start noticing the things that are underneath that maybe you've been running away from. Okay, let's go into groups. Raj, if we can get ready for us to go into groups. One last before we do go into groups. So as facilitators, we get employed to produce results, run a group and produce results, go through this change, launch this project, whatever it is. And they see that we understand process, which indeed we do. As processors, as facilitators, we know about process. That's why we get hired. And we can do some magic things, and they may well be happy. And we get paid. And we've done the job. It's only, however, I think if we really are able ourselves and with them to go to the source and to really touch where that group is stuck, that we can really help them. The Presencing Institute has a number of tools and methods which they use to be able to find that source, and they're very powerful methods. And of course, there are many other methods, and many of those are in the IAF methods library, which if you haven't been to look at, I suggest that you do. You will find a lot in there. And the ones that really touch the source and get to the depth of things are very well worth paying attention to. So this is a time to go into groups and to share what whispers you hear. There have been a handful of people on this call who've kindly contributed. For others of you, I'm wondering if there are thoughts and things bubbling up. They may be confusions, they may be struggle, I don't know, whatever. What is bubbling up for you? You'll have approaching about 12, 13 minutes in the group. And I suggest you do this as a listening circle. What I mean by that is that you may as well go around alphabetically. Everybody gets a turn. And then you just speak. You speak as long as you want to, but you're aware of the time constraint. If you don't have anything to say at that moment, just say pass and go on to the next person, because your turn will come again, and the next time you can have something to say. And importantly, you're there to listen to those who are speaking and give them that service of really listening to them. In a moment, I'll be saying, when you come back, I'll be saying something about levels of listening. Is that clear? Is that okay? I hope so. I'll put that in the chat, which I think you will also get in your groups. Yeah, I see a thumbs up, at least one thumbs up. Yeah, good. And we'll give you, of course, we'll give you a notice when you're about halfway through. And please manage your own time. Make sure that everybody is heard. And I suggest you do it in that way. But your facilitators, you know about these things. You can manage that yourselves, but that's my suggestion to you. So, Raj, I think we, how many we're at? 57 people. Should we put people in, what do you think? Give me your thoughts. In threes or fours? Could we put people in threes perhaps?
Yes, Martin, I'm just looking at the number of rooms. If I put make 8 rooms, then it is 4 to 5 people. If I make it 9 rooms, it's 4 per room, 4 participants per room.
We make it 10 or 12. We could have 10 or 12 rooms with 3. Just thinking of the time.
Yeah, yeah, I can make 12 rooms, which is 3 per room.
Yeah, because we're 37, so I don't go into a room. You don't go into a room. Narcy doesn't go into a room.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's do that. So it's just 3, so everybody will have good time. We'll come back. We'll give you a note, but at the top of the hour or something like that. And Raj, if you and I can stay in contact, we'll work out when we call people back.
Okay. Okay.
Can I
And
ask,
yes, Martin.
is there anybody who doesn't understand what I'm asking you to do, the task? So the task is to share those whispers, what's coming up for you, what you sense, what you feel, what you hear for you. And the process is that you go around alphabetically and you speak when you can speak. And if you don't want to speak, you wait for your turn to come round again. Good.
Okay, Martin. So I'm going to make 12 rooms, and is it 12 minutes you told? 12 minutes?
Yeah.
12
We'll
minutes,
give
okay.
you a notice halfway through.
So I'm creating the rooms. I think you and Narcy will go into a room.
Okay.
In which case you can come back. I just saw a drop of numbers, so I'm making 11 rooms.
Okay.
Just in case you come out, I can reorganize some rooms.
Yep. Perfect.
Yep. I'm creating. Oh, I have an option here. Yes. One moment.
I'm putting this in the chat.
Move to. Yes, I have an option here. I will add a room and move you and Nasi into a separate room so that you can come out.
And I've just put the process and the task in the chat.
Yes. Well, yes. There are some rooms, 2 rooms with 2 people. I'm opening all rooms.
Okay.
You and Narcy will go into room 12, Martin. You can come back. Yeah. I've opened the rooms, and you can click on join breakout room and join the rooms. Starting the timer as well. I've restarted the recording.
Very good. The recording is back on again. So
Yes.
that's excellent. And as people are coming back, I saw a question, could we have the name again of the website? And someone has given that. So it's presencing.org. But if you're on the internet, just put in Presencing Institute or Otto Sharma, you will come up with masses of stuff. But it's presencing.org. That's in the chat. And it's an institute as part of MIT. And I also, yeah, so good. So I think we're all back now. In a moment, there will be a chance for you to give some contributions if you would like. But I think what I would do, as we have another 25 minutes, is to first of all share something. Now, I don't see my screen, so I'm assuming you can see this.
Yes, yes.
Yep, you can see it? Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'll say something, thank you. I'll say something, I'll say something about listening, and then I'll ask for some contributions. So if you have something to say, please get ready to say it in just a moment. So listening is something else that Theory U talks about a lot and uses a lot. And there's what I find to be a very helpful 4 levels of listening. I'm just going to briefly tell you what those are. You will find out lots more. If you put in Otto Sharma listening on YouTube, you'll come up with a very short video which will describe what I'm about to say. So imagine this black circle is the boundaries of your perception and everything that you are. Let's say it's the room that you're living in. You're in a room. The first level of listening is where you basically just listen to yourself. It's almost as if you're projecting screens of your own beliefs, your own life, your own perceptions onto the wall, and they bounce back and you say, I'm listening, but what you're seeing basically is yourself. And you're meeting with people who think the same as you and do the same as you. That's level 1. Level 2, and imagine that this is the room, you might go to the window. You might go over here to the window and take a look out. You might, I'm going to go and listen to some other people because look, I see, and I'm looking out of the window now, I see there are other people out there. Oh, that's interesting. But basically, I still stay in my room. I don't venture out to go and meet them. I stay in my room. I know they're there and I listen to them, but it doesn't change my perception. The level 3, over here, if you do this online, everything, of course, is back to front, so it's quite difficult to manage this. Never mind. Level 3 is where there is empathy, and you go to the position of the other. You go to the position of the person, the group, the organization that you're engaging with, and you see it from their perspective. And you're empathetic, and that may change something of your perception about your own room. 1, 2, 3. So far, that's nothing new. You probably knew that already. There is a difference, and you don't see a number 4 on here because it's sort of somehow sitting underneath all of this, which is sort of generative listening, so that you are in a coaching relationship or in a facilitation relationship, it's possible for you to listen in a way from the source, from your inner being, and in a way that means that you are also open to being changed by what you hear, because you're not listening primarily to the other person, group, or organization. You're listening to what is beneath them, and you're also looking to what is beneath you, or as we heard earlier, you're listening to what is above. You're listening to what is outside you, beyond your ego, and connecting to the echo of the whole. So that 4th level of listening, they call generative listening, which is where you find changes. That's where you find new things happening. So again, I will give you the link that I've just referred to, the YouTube link. That will come to you in a mail in the next little while, in the next week or few days or so. I'll send that to Raj and Nasi, so you can take a look at that and listen to what Otto Sharma says about that. I'll also send the other links, the links of the Presencing Institute and all the rest, along with some of these images that I've been sharing. So what I'm doing here is just giving you a little flavor, almost like going to a restaurant and just tasting some of the plates, some of the food on offer. But that restaurant has a lot more to offer. But I thought I would just offer some things that will invite your taste buds and get your taste buds moving. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to do some reflective journaling. So you would need a pen or pencil and a paper. So you might want to get one just now. Before we do that, let's have some time of reflection and contribution from your groups. Or Pari, I think you just joined the session. Welcome. You may want to say something. So we'll do that, and then we'll do some reflective journaling on the whole experience of this session. Oh, who would like to contribute?
Sure. So Parinita here. I'm sorry I joined a little late, but I see the relevance of Theory U to move from a place of suspending judgment to embodying a new way of being, seeing things with a fresh pair of eyes and implementing them with using the head, heart, and the hand. Basically moving from a letting go to letting new come in, letting old go to letting come in new. That's it. And it also helps one to go through the process of moving from co-sensing to co-creating and then to presencing. So I love the fact that you say presencing with Theory U, because it takes you from the space of what am I sensing to how am I showing up and what is it doing to myself, my team, the organization, or anybody around.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you joined, even though it was part way through. Thank you. Now, would anybody, you were in your groups of 2 or 3, I hope that was a useful process for you. Would anybody like to share something from those exchanges? Is there something you would like to share with us all, or to explore, to listen to?
May I, Martin?
You may.
Okay.
Sure.
Right. So, Martin, I reflected, and in fact, I was doing behavioral event interviewing these past 2-3 days with a bunch of participants. And when I was listening to you, I could relate to one of the questions that I posed to many of them, and that was, tell me about a project that you were entrusted with that bombed and then didn't take off, and it was a failure for you. And so they were kind of first taken back, diffident, and didn't want to kind of admit that there was such a event. But then they start talking about it. And so first there was denial, and then they were present to the fact that it's a good idea to talk about something like this. That they cannot really deny not having any of such events in their past. So denial, and then being present to that idea, talking about it, and then reflecting on that. And then my next question right away was, tell me, how would you do it differently based on the learning? And then going up the curve, and they would start talking about what was the learning, and going forward next time they're entrusted with a similar task, how they would do it totally differently. So just going into the performing stage.
Thank you.
That's what I could relate to.
Thank you. There's a shift in the perception, because it is a choice, isn't it? The choice of absencing or presencing. We can deny things, or we can have the courage to go through that you. One of the terms they've started using is confidence action, something like that. So when you've been through that you, and you've been really through that process, you're then very confident in your action that you take. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? And then I will ask you some questions to reflect on.
Martin, there's one person who has raised hand, Madhujit from India.
Please.
Would you like to speak?
Yes, I'm not really able to see the hand, so thank you, Raj, for doing that. Yes, please speak. Go ahead.
So something I was in the room with 2 people, Kamal and like Sahala from Indonesia. And Kamal shared something which kind of triggered a lot of things in me. She shared a quote that she read somewhere: those who do not move do not notice their chains. And how that particular thing resonated with her. And she said that maybe, before letting go, I need to acknowledge that those chains served me a purpose. And what came next was something which has triggered something in me, and I would like to share that. She said that what's coming, while I acknowledge that and I need the new to come, but it may not be good for me. So my question over there, and what did not resonate, who is looking at it as good or bad? Maybe it's there for a purpose and it is serving a purpose. So why are we judging it? What's coming in or what's going is bad and what's coming in good or bad? So that is something which has triggered something in me, and I'm like kind of in a state where I think I need to reflect more on this theme before, before I can say anything or make a kind of call for myself.
Good. I wish you well with your reflections, and you may want to find somebody to reflect with, a friend or a partner or something, because some things, it's difficult to do that on our own. It's helpful to do it with other people because it's confusing. We get into a muddle. So, but that's the confusion or muddle or uncertainty is part of that process. I speak from my own experience and of working with many people. So thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that. Thank you.
Please, one more comment, and then do some reflective journaling, and then we'll find out who gets the book. Okay. Does anybody else would like to say anything? A reflection on your
Or
time?
I could speak if it's okay.
It is very okay, please.
So when we were talking in our pair, one thing that came up was a very simple one, which is we're saying seeing, just seeing and suspending habitual judgment.
Yes.
Just trying to experiment with doing that for even a little while on something that I don't want to see was, I could see I can't do it. It's just coming back. So it was, how much practice will this need? I'm wondering, because even when I'm trying it so consciously, I can make out what's coming in the way. Because I don't want to see that other side. And all those things that, I've got all kinds of excuses for not wanting to see the other side.
Yes, all sorts of excuses.
Just at the beginning of the U. So it seemed like a long journey.
Yes.
To do.
It is a long journey, and I suggest you do that with others. That's why through the ULab, the Presencing Institute has a lot of different courses and opportunities to connect with other people. And I found that very helpful. On your own, it's a lonely place and probably too difficult. So find communities to help you do that. In Buddhism, they talk about the Sangha. In other communities, we need community. We live in communities. So find yourself a community of people to go on that journey with you, to pick you up when it gets just too difficult and too confusing. And if you can't find anybody, you give me a call, and it would be a delight and a pleasure to have that conversation with you. But really, okay.
Thanks so much.
We have a bit less than 15 minutes. I think I'm going to now suggest we go to our reflective journaling. And this is where I invite you to reflect on what has come up for you, but privately. So if you have a pen and a paper, that would be really good. Or a computer to write on, whatever is easy for you. And I'm going to ask 5 questions, just 5. In the U theory model, what is often done is that there are 17 questions. So these are 5 of those 17. You can find the others on the Presencing Institute website. If you go onto the resources button, you will find it in there. But these are just 5 of them for the present purpose of this, of giving you a little taste. And before I go into that, I should say I forgot earlier on when I asked everybody to turn off their cameras and turn them on and so on. I realized at the end, I didn't ask half of you to turn your cameras back on. And that was my mistake. If you do wish to turn your cameras on, it would be a delight to see you. I leave that to you as you wish. That was my mistake. As facilitators, we all know that afterwards you get to a point where you think, oh, God, I've done that wrong. So I put that right and apologize for that. So there are 5 questions. So I'll ask the question, then I'll repeat it, and then I'll give you a minute or so to reflect and think about it. So the first one, frustration. Frustration. What in your current work or your personal life frustrates you the most? What in your current work or personal life frustrates you the most? Give you a minute. Next one coming up. The title of the next one is Energy. Energy. What do you find are your most vital sources of energy? What do you love? What are your most vital sources of energy that really nourish you and fuel you? What do you love? It's the second one.
Martin, one more person has put the hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Aishwarya, would you want to speak? I see your hand up.
Yeah. So we'll come to the third one in just a moment. They say there are 5. Let's hear from the person who's put their hand up. Who is that? I can't move my screen because I'm on Spotlight, so I don't know who that is. Please speak.
Martin, Aishwarya here. Martin, may I suggest we go through the 5? I had put my hand up to share in the previous piece. I'm good to share a little bit later on. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for that suggestion, the process suggestion. I'll tell you the next 3. I'll read them once and then give you the space to go through them one at a time. So the first 2 were frustration and energy. The third one is emerging. Wait a minute. No, sorry. The third one is when you were a young man or a young woman, what did you imagine of the future? What did you imagine that you would do in your life when you were a young person? That's the third one. The fourth one is if you fast forward to the end of your life, your very last moments, and you are now looking back, not looking forward into your life, you're looking back on your life's journey. What at that moment would you want to see? So the footprint, what would you want to see? So the third one was as a young person. The fourth one is the footprint that you leave, that you're looking back on when you are in your last moments of life. And the fifth one is letting go. What would you love to let go of in order to bring your vision into reality, if you have that vision yet? Is there something that's telling you that it's no longer needed? What's the old stuff that must die? So that's numbers 3, 4, and 5. So the first one is as a young person. What do you remember you were aspiring to in your life? There may still be some richness in that will help you in this current moment at your age now. And then the fourth one is the footprint. You're looking back from your last moments of life. What at that point would you love to be looking at? That you achieved in your life, that you did in your life, that you were in your life, that what you became, that you would smile at. The fifth one, letting go. What is it you would love to let go of, but it somehow holds on to you? Something that is grabbing you. You want to let it go. What's the old stuff that now really must die? There we are. Excuse me. So, in our last 5 minutes, we have time to say goodbye to each other. We now see you will say the last words. Sorry, I've now got a frog in my throat. And also, I'm going to give this away. Before we do all of those things, would you like, we've got time for one or two comments or observations on what you've just written or anything else from the groups. And I apologize that I won't see your hand go up because I'm stuck on one screen because I'm on the spotlight. So please just speak if you would like to, including our friend who spoke a moment ago. Please go ahead.
Hi, Martin.
Yeah.
Hi,
Please.
this is Sahil here.
Hello, Sahil. Yeah.
Hi. So these questions are highly difficult for me to answer at the moment. While I'm able to get some, I mean, these are really hard-hitting questions which I would really want to answer. I think this will solve half of my life problem if I get these right. But thank you for giving these questions,
Yes.
Martin.
Well, they are deep and big questions, and this is a taster.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the good news is you can take them with you. They're a free gift. You can take them with you to
Yeah.
answer at your leisure. And again, find people maybe to speak with and to think them through so that you can take them to depth. And also you may want to look on the Presencing Institute site. You will find more there. These are the ones that for me seem to be most helpful, particularly the frustrations one. Oh God, you know, so frustrating. That's telling you something. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Thank you for that. Say, anybody else?
You're welcome.
Martin, I'll go next. Aishwarya. Martin, I was intrigued with the shape of the U.
Yes.
If I look at it from a head perspective, what came to me was probably a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
If I looked at it from a hand perspective, probably what would come to me would be a squiggle where all of this are sort of there. And, my quest was what's so intriguing about really the U. And, bang on came flooding our October 17th, London Cafe discussion.
Yes. I remember it well.
Yes, that was theory U for me. Emergence did happen. I am glad. I would have missed today's session. I would have really missed it. Just a few minutes back, I recall that I'm in for this session and I came back. Thank you for that. And there's a lot of value, Martin, when you say that probably find a coach or find, a buddy with whom you can do this.
Yeah, exactly. So do. You don't need to sit in a room by yourself. Reach out. There's a room full of people here to reach out to. In a moment, I'll come back to Nasi for you to say the last word. Now, let's come to the book. This is a birthday present for someone. The person who has a birthday closest to today, I will post the book to them. Of course, I need your address. So who's got is it anybody's birthday today? No? Anybody's birthday this week? It's a Wednesday. Anybody had a birthday this week?
My daughter's having a birthday on
Daughters don't
Friday, the 13th. Doesn't count, right?
Well, unless nobody else has birthdays at all, in which, if you think she would like it, I'd be happy to give it to her if you think she would like it. But let's see if there's anybody else first. Anybody else?
Wedding anniversary qualify?
No.
Oh, so sorry.
Nice.
I can also say, Martin, that I feel like I was born again. So it's the closer.
That doesn't count
But
either.
I'll let it pass.
That doesn't count
So
either.
Carrie said it was last Friday, so we have a winner.
Okay. Well, please put your in the chat, and please put both Denny, put your daughter, if you'll put in your postal address, and the person who's got a birthday one on the call from last Friday, and then I'll send it to one of the two of you. If I can't decide, I'll send you each one.
Next year, please be available in July.
Appreciate this.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd like to make a gift because I get a gift from many other people of their presence and their attention and their enthusiasm. So I want to.
Actually, Martin, I'm going to be, my birthday is on the 17th, next Tuesday.
Ah, day after my wife's birthday. Please put, if you would like the book, then please put your date and the address, and then I'll work it out.
Okay.
And we're not now going to get into a bidding war. So just put it in the chat, and then something will happen.
I'll be very glad if someone else has it. It's an extremely nice thought that you have. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, we need to finish there. Nasi, let's pass back to you. We have just a minute left, and then I'll stay online. So if anybody has questions and comments, then we'll stay online anyway. But let's just bring our proceedings formally to a close. Nasi.
Thank you, Martin. Wonderful, really, really fantastic time that we all spent, and the 5 questions are really, really fantastic. Like Sahil said, it will take a lifetime to find answers. You can keep on writing, you know. Sahil, if you finish, then go for the next 12, right? Right. You can go on, right. So thank you very much. You've been an awesome crowd, enjoying every moment of it. Thank you very much, Martin. Once again, thank you, Raj. So on December 16th is the other Martin Gilbreth. Normally, I invite both of them together. Like some of you would have attended that 4 hands on a wheel last time they did, how to be a co-facilitator, the Dharma of co-facilitation. So this time they chose to go one after another. So Martin Farrell led the way. So 16th of December, Martin Gilbert will do. So happy Diwali to those who are in India and who are celebrating. Thank you, everybody. See you again. Enjoy your presence.
And as we finish, one of the things that Presencing Institute often does to say farewell is that everybody unmutes and then says farewell in whatever language they choose, or indeed in several languages. So they just shout it out. So we could do that now. Shall we do that now?
Yes, one chaotic bye-bye.
Chaotic.
So, on the count of 3, right? 1. Are you all out of mute? Vanessa, you're not in, Kavita. So I'm just checking. I'm doing a simple audit now. Those who are not on, yes. Banu. So count up. Be ready. Clear your throat. Be ready. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Ciao. Shukriya.
In whichever language you want.
Namaste. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
À tout à l'heure.
See you later, alligator.
Adios.
Alex.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Danny.
Bye.
Alex.
Nice.
Bye,
Hi,
Andrew.
Tayo. Nice to meet you too.
Same
Take
here,
care.
Danny. Take
Take
care.
care.
All right. Take care. Say hi to Belgium for me.
I will.
And the frites and the waffles.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Very good.
Thank you, Martin.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Gratitude.
Thank you, Martin.
It's lovely for me. Lovely for me. It's part of my process as well, you know, to do this. So I'm very glad that you asked me that. I know I was a bit reluctant to start with, then you persuaded me, and I was easily persuaded because it's nourishing for me to be in this situation. Yeah. So here we are. There's we have a small group of 12, 13 of us. Yeah, that's nice. What should we say to each other?
What's tugging at your sleeve now?
What's tugging at your sleeve? A cup of tea is tugging at my sleeve.
Narsi, Binu here.
Yeah,
If I may, I would like to share something with Martin.
please go ahead directly. He's there. You don't
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to. Yeah, go ahead, Binu.
Yeah. So, Martin, thank you so much. I'm really curious about Theory U. But what really got me intriguing is, I've been trying to set a goal for my life, and I've not been really finding that happy, satisfactory goal that I want to kind of set.
Yes.
But with question number 3 that you asked, what was it? What was your goal in childhood?
Yeah. What did you dream?
I just realized, yes, what did I dream about? I just realized that, whatever I dreamed about, I'm already having it.
Oh.
So why do you need a goal?
Yeah.
I don't think you are that belonging to that category of
I
setting
know,
a goal and trying to achieve it, finding a trainer like me. You don't need anything. You're thinking and you're achieving it already.
So
you're absolutely fine.
it gave me a new insight to my
Yes.
what do you say, the longing or whatever, the need in me, kind of,
That's it. You've made it in life
Yeah.
now. You don't need you don't need any theory,
So,
thank you, Narsi.
Don't listen to him, because you know better than him. You found what you were looking for at that time, and now you're still alive. You have a life ahead of you. So there is something else there. It can get deeper.
She's going to she's obviously going to achieve many things in her life. But all I'm saying is she doesn't need a goal setting process and trying to find a trainer and a coach like me to coach her how to achieve it. All that she doesn't need. She thinks, she achieves. That's it.
Thank you, Narsi.
Sounds like you.
Martin?
Yes.
Yeah. It has been a very, very wonderful session for me.
Good.
And you are the whisper that the universe sent me.
Oh.
And I'll just like to share the whisper that emerged for me. They're just 4 or 5 lines. And,
we have time now.
So I begin my new journey from compulsiveness to consciousness, from chasing to stillness, denial to acceptance, achievement to abundance, and words to silence.
Wow.
Amazing.
I get a little shiver. I get a shiver in my legs. I don't know why.
If you could share your email address, I'll mail it to you, because it's a gift from you, and this is the only way I can probably send it.
Thank you. I'm putting it in now. Just check it out.
And if you could connect us to somebody who does presencing work in India, I would want to be in touch and do this work.
That's a good question, and I don't have an immediate answer, because let me think, who do I know?
No worries, Martin. If you could send your email address, I'll at least
Go
stay
on.
in touch with you.
Yeah, I'm just sending it, just checking. Yeah, I sent it to everyone. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. I look forward to getting your mail. Thank you for your participation and reflection.
Yeah.